Howdy. Maybe some of you remember this my try to get to the university to make a small presentation about my paper, which is not going to happen, at least in near future. And there was also talk about the relevance of understanding, or in a way, how to put it, like the electric universe and all the things it leads to. Is there any application you can, or fields of application in where you could use it? And it has been even, how to put it, like I have no script, so I don't know where to start reading. But the electric universe and Velikovsky and all that is seen as pseudoscience, which is one of the main reasons why I'm not going to the university. So, let's talk about science and this thing I found today, which I found really interesting. I was searching like some facts and stuff and things about elderly sun cycles. And yeah, let's just have a look on this paper regarding the influence of the sun on Earth, the influence of the sun on Earth's electrical circuitry, of which weather is a part of. There's droughts and floods and extreme weather all over the place. And there is like many things which happened in the past, which include the sun very much, which aren't that well known. So that's the paper, and I won't make a whole read through because it's too long. No one ever would listen my sketchy English until the end. So it's no point making a total read through. But let's go into that. This is written in the year 2018. So it's somewhat 4 years old. Open access. Advanced Earth and Space Science. Volume 16, Issue 11. On the little-known consequences of the 4th August 1972 ultrafast coronal mass ejecta, facts, commentary, and call to action. Abstract. Today, the extreme space weather events of early August 1972 are discussed as benchmarks for Sun-Earth transit times of solar ejecta, 14.6 hours, and for solar energetic particle fluxes, 10 megavolts ion flux, 70,000 square, whatever this means. I'm not a scientist. Know that. Although the magnetic storm index DST dipped the only minus 125 nanoteslas, the magnetopause was observed with 5.2 RE and the plasma pause with 2 RE. Widespread electric and communication grid disturbances plagued North America late on 4th August. There was an additional effect, long buried in the Vietnam War archives, that add credence to the severity of the storm impact. A nearly instantaneous, unintended detonation of dozens of Seamines south of Haiphong, North Vietnam, on 4th August 1972. The US Navy attributed the dramatic event to magnetic perturbations of solar storms. Herein we discuss how such a finding is broadly consistent with terrestrial effects and technological impacts of the 4th August 1992 event and the propagation of major eruptive activity from the Sun to the Earth. We also provide insight into the solar geophysical and military circumstances of this extraordinary situation. In our view, this storm deserves a scientific revisit as a grand challenge for the space weather community, as it provides space-age terrestrial observation of what was likely a Carrington-class storm. Key points: the 4th August 1972 flare, shock, and geomagnetic storm are components of a Carrington-class event. The event was associated with a nearly instantaneous, unintended detonation of dozens of Seamines near Haiphong, North Vietnam. The entire series of events in August 1972 should be viewed as a grand challenge to current-day space weather models. Plain language summary. The extreme space weather events of early August 1972 had significant impact on the US Navy, which have not been widely reported. These effects, long buried in the Vietnam War archives, add credence to the severity of the storm, a nearly instantaneous unintended detonation of dozens of sea mines south of Haiphong, North Vietnam on 4th August 1972. This event occurred near the end of the Vietnam War. The US Navy attributed the dramatic event to magnetic perturbations of solar storms. In researching these events, we determined that the widespread electric and communication grid disturbances that plagued North America and the disturbance in Southeast Asia late on 4th August likely resulted from propagation of major eruptive activity from the Sun to the Earth. The activity fits the description of a Carrington-class storm minus the low-latitude aurora reported in 1859. We prove insight into the solar geophysical and military circumstances of this extraordinary situation. In our view, this storm deserves a scientific revisit as a grand challenge for the space weather community, as it provides space-age terrestrial observations of what was likely a Carrington-class storm. No wonder those papers are so long if they repeat themselves all over again. Let's scroll a little bit down. There have been several very interesting things. So let's just read that. Flares and ejecta. Between 2nd and 4th August 1972, math region 11,976 produced a series of brilliant flares, energetic particle enhancements, and Earth-directed ejecta. Note the terminology of the day was plasma cloud. The first two ejecta generated two impulses in the geomagnetic field and a magnetic storm shortly after 01 UT on August 4th. More importantly, they likely cleared the interplanetary IP path for the subsequent ultrafast 4th August shock IP coronal mass ejection ICME that reached Earth in a record time of 14.6 hours. That's very fast. Usually they take up to 4 days, 5 days can be also possible. Let's say 2 to 4 days is the average. 14.6 hours is very fast. The ICME has been linked to the H alpha level 3 brilliant flare that peaked at 20 past 6 on August 4th. In concert, a 76,000 SFU radio burst at 1 GHz peaked at 6:36. At the other end of the solar spectrum, the SOLARAD 9 satellite X-ray detector saturated at what would be a X5.1 magnitude in the current National Oceanographic and Atmospheric Administration, NOAA, solar X-ray classification, but clearly exceeded that level. So it burned the satellite, which should have been measuring. Oshio. Using ionospheric radio wave phase propagation disturbances estimated the flare class as about X20. They said radio blackouts at Earth developed within minutes. X-ray emissions from the long-duration flare remained above background for more than 16 hours. For the first time, a space-based detector observed gamma rays during this flare. Dodgson and Hedemann rated the flare at comprehensive flare index level 17th, the highest level, and one assigned to only the most extreme and broad spectrum flares. So this is just the start of the beginning of this article. 2,850 kilometers per second is very fast. We believe this extraordinary speed of this event had a direct bearing on the events we discuss below. So, let's go again, once again. Space weather. Scrolling down, we want to see solar activity. Going down once again a little bit. And we find solar cycle. I know there is just 3 cycles. Or 2.5, not even that, because we aren't at the half point yet. This is still going up. And at the same time, this is very vertical. Standard curves method. That's just a beam straight up, almost vertical. I try to explain it once again. Here is the peak of our sun's cycle 25. And we are here, so there is still time until we are at the peak. So, this could rise however high this is possible. This ends at 300. I guess in a few months they have to make it up more. 300 isn't enough anymore. So, here you can see it, this curve. Maybe easier if I hit it again. This blue one. No, I don't. Here was it. The blue one. It is going down. And they were expecting it will stay low. GSM. Grand Solar Minimum. Many people have been talking about this. Or still talking still. But if you watch that red curve here, yeah, I missed a bit. This is going really high up. And I still wait that they would update this because this has been here now for quite some time. And the thing is, there is droughts and floods in Europe and America, Asia, wherever you go, Australia, South America, all over the place. There has been Seamines going off in '92 because of geomagnetic activity. I've been making videos about like when there's this kind of, I call them solar tremors, because there has been this kind of equal spacing between sun activity. Was it flares? I don't exactly remember what the thing was. But this has somehow something to do with the article I just found today, I showed you before, because there has been some earlier ejector from the sun, which somehow plowed away free for the third one. And this is what I meant with those solar tremors. There could be this kind of triple whammy, or how to put it, like first two, and then comes the third one after the defense is already down. So, if there is a possibility that Seamines explode instantaneous as there is an eruption on the sun, instantaneous. It takes 8 minutes for the light to get here, but the reactions are instantaneous. So there's not too much warning time about these things if they are happening instantaneous. And I want to emphasize this because in Europe and many other countries, almost all nuclear reactors, atomic power plants, or however you want to call them, they are very heavily related on water in order to cool things down and stuff, to run the turbines and whatever, water. Now there's drought, River Po, River Rhine, I have been talking about these as well. I have also been talking about the earthquake swarms near Maddalena, near Monteviso, where the Po River originates. I have been talking about fluctuations in the output of whatever water wells you find, if it's just a lake or a small well or geothermal activity or whatsoever. They will fluctuate. So if the sun is doing really what here is predicted, you can expect that Earth will react in a similar way. Earth will be much more active, and the sun has those many cycles, 400 years, 1,500, 3,000, 6,000, Noah event, 12,000, and the whole sun year is 25,000 years and a bit plus, which is divided through 12, where we get the zodiac from, and we are just entering the age of Aquarius, leaving the age of Pisces, which was Jesus representing by bringing the two fishes. Simple stuff. But now there is this energy shortage. There's no gas coming, electricity is gonna short down, and all these kind of things. People are freaking out. There's even a new power plant in Finland which they try to get to work, but it doesn't really. I reported about that too. Olkiluoto, which is built by the French. Yeah, more than 10 years late, more than 10 times more expensive. Furthermore, even a nuclear power plant is dependent on water. They need at least water for the coffee machine. So, if there is not enough water, they cannot run a nuclear facility. So if there is a drought, they have to shut it down because there's not enough water to run the facility. So there will be no power coming out of this nuclear power plant. And if there is a flood, I don't have to explain you what happens if a nuclear power plant gets flooded. Just remember TEPCO, Japan, tsunami. What was the place? Fukushima. You remember. There's other reactors which don't need that much water. We have examples what can go wrong with those two. Just look at Chernobyl. So, everybody needs electricity. And we were just reading about geomagnetic activity, which sets off sea mines instantaneously. So there is quite a big amount of electricity and energy provided through the atmosphere from the sun. So it's a funny way, or a funny thing. You build a nuclear facility, which is very hard to maintain. It needs a whole bunch of water, otherwise it cannot run. And you have to pay for it. And there's the garbage risk which is coming out there. Except the Sapphire project, no one knows what to do. They're just buried in some deep places. In Switzerland, there's like many nuclear facilities and also these kind of storage places and geothermal activity, and all at the same place. And earthquakes and all this kind of stuff going on there all the time. I could report every day about those things. but I don't. There's so much other things going on. I just want to tell you, don't be surprised if you hear that they have to shut down nuclear facilities or there's some problem in a nuclear facility or whatsoever, because not only the water can make harm to them. Is it too much? It makes harm. Is it too less? They shut it down. But I guess if there's a strong enough eruption happening on the sun, nuclear facilities that just pop, rather quickly, and it could be rather violently. So I don't know how safe they are according to or referring to space weather. So you maybe have to think with a serious thought about your life without electricity. There is no water coming. There's no radio, no internet, no YouTube. Nothing. So one thing you have to keep in mind is, as long as we have the internet, as long as we have this electricity and all this kind of 2022 year gadgets, use them. Get as much knowledge as you need and want to and can suck in about nature, about how it works, about what's going on, because the door and window to knowledge is closing. It is closing even quicker, I guess, as our pole is shifting. So there is not that much time anymore left to get aware of the situation. These are the times of times we are going through, I tell you. Make up your own mind. Don't believe me. Read the paper, find other stuff related to that. Make yourself wise. Know better. Yeah, but I don't know. That's just my advice and the things I found and stuff. But very interesting times you're living in. All of us are in this together. Everyone. But anyway, I leave it here and see you next time. Bye.